Hey everyone, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with hopefully a relatively quick video. I'm going to talk about the recent change that I've done in my home regarding my internet service. I'm going to talk about kind of how it's went so far and why I decided to do it. So right now, here is what we're looking at is we are looking at an OTN. And what that stands for is, I believe, optical termination, or something to do. Basically, I should have Googled the acronym, I guess. But what it does is obviously it allows the fiber cable coming into my home, right, directly into the OTN, and obviously it translates it to Ethernet to allow me to use the fiber to the home. And yeah, I'm actually back with Cin Bell now. Like I said, I would if they ever finally ran optical in this neighborhood, and they did. And the speeds are incredible. It's, for rural Southeast Indiana, I could not be more pleased with what my internet is now. So obviously, this is just the box. Nothing too exciting. The coax that you see hanging here is actually still the coax coming in from the Comcast line, which is actually still active, and it will be for a little bit. I'll explain why later in the video, why I kept it active. But I am definitely going to show you the difference between the two as far as speeds go, and it's really quite astounding. So that's it. I just wanted to kind of show you guys the termination point kind of for both of these internet connections in my home. But with all that out of the way, I got to go to the computer now, and so we can see the difference. So see you in a bit. Oh, there is one other thing I wanted to show off before I actually do the internet speed test. I wanted to show the termination point now of the from the fiber. Basically, as you can see, it's just running Cat 5 cable, and he gave me a whole lot of extra, which is great because of the work that I'm doing. Basically, I'm not going to show because that room's an extreme mess right now, but it runs into that room and, of course, just directly into my router. So what's excellent is, of course, I'm not having to rent any equipment or pay for it. I'm just using my own equipment, and it's working flawlessly. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there just as an FYI. So see you guys in a second. All right, folks, here we are at the computer with my browser in private or porn mode. Ha ha ha. Mostly just to not have anything cached in the browser, so you can, get, so no doubt that this is going to be a very honest result that we get on the speed test. Currently, I am connected to my Comcast internet connection, so I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to do a quick little speed test here. And we're just going to let it kind of run through. It'll take its time here. All right. Okay. That's pretty decent. I'm actually paying for 75 down. So getting 88 is, I can't really complain about that. It's close enough to 100 that I basically just say I have about 100 megabit internet. And I'm paying $60 a month for the Comcast connection. To be fair to Comcast, it's improved quite a bit since I've had it. I've had it since 2015, and at that time, I believe I was only getting 16 megabits down. So, but I was probably getting closer to 20 in reality. So, it's definitely come a long way since then. And honestly, the reason I stayed as a customer with them so long is because, well, fiber simply was not available here yet, right? So before I decided to switch to fiber, I did call Comcast and I tried to go through negotiations with them. I said, hey, I know my contract is about to expire with you guys because it expires December 6th. I said, I've been very pleased with service thus far. I'd love to keep you. If you can, do a price match and speed match with the fiber folks. And essentially, they wouldn't do it. That's, that's why I got fiber, right? Pretty foolish on their part, in my opinion. I'm going to go into much more detail when, we get to the conclusions part of this video about that. but I just wanted to basically show you guys what I have right now. And I'm paying like I said, $60 a month for this currently. Not horrible. It's definitely, quote, fast enough. I can do multiple 4K streams on this, no problem, obviously. No gaming is an issue. Really, any normal daily web browsing, not remotely an issue, right? But, you know, there are definitely faster speeds available for lower prices, which I'm about to show off. So, anyway, that's it for this part. I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to my fiber internet, and we're going to run the same speed test, and we're going to see what the results are. So, see you momentarily. Okay, folks, I went ahead and switched over to my fiber internet. We still have this window open. And what's amazing about this is literally all I did was I got up, went over to the router on the desk next to me. I switched the Ethernet cord from the cable modem into what's going into the OTN, and the internet didn't really skip a beat. So, but I did confirm with IP Chicken that I am indeed connected to the fiber now. So let's go ahead and run another speed test, and let's see what we get. Keep in mind, I am paying $50 a month for this. So here we go. A gigabit. I cannot complain about that. Clearly, that is much better than 80 something. Truthfully, though, just to complete transparency, like during my quote unquote normal browsing and most of my normal internet activities, I see no real difference between these two speeds. All right, just because you just won't if you're just doing normal browsing, and even with running multiple TVs in the house at the same time, like if my daughter's watching Netflix and my wife is watching Disney Plus, and I'm surfing the internet or whatever, even watching 4K YouTube videos, even with quote my old internet, none of that ever skipped a beat. The only reason I've noticed a difference is, with really large file downloads and uploading to YouTube, because on my old plan, I got about 20 megabits up. On this one, I get over 500. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys that, because if I do, it'll show off my IP address. So that's the only reason I'm not showing that. But yeah, to assure you, I get like half a gig up. So my videos upload much more quickly than they used to. But it doesn't do anything to speed up the YouTube processing. But yeah, that's it for this. So I'm going to stop, and I will be back with some conclusions, and I'll talk a little bit more in depth about why I switched, pricing, all that stuff. So see you in a little bit. Okay, folks, so what are my conclusions about this whole process? Well, just let me start off by saying I'm no great lover of either Comcast or Cincinnati Bell. Now, Ulta Fiber, I'm not in love with either one of them. In fact, I've made negative videos about both companies in the past, with poor experiences that I've had with both of them, and I will link those in the video description below, just in case you want to check those out. And you might be reasonably asking yourself, well, why on earth did you have them install the fiber line, almost 2 months before your contract with Comcast expires on December 6th? You're basically paying for 2 internet packages at the same time. Why would you do that? Well, I think that's a very reasonable question to ask. Truthfully, the reason I allowed so much overlap between the two is because I don't have a whole lot of, I did not have a lot of confidence in Cincinnati Bell at all, right? Due to my past dealings with them as a consumer. They definitely did not fill me with any sort of confidence that they would do a good job. I've heard some really bad horror stories about their installs and yada, yada, yada. And I also deal with them in my professional life because they are a very large local technology provider. Currently, with my current employer, we have our phone system through Cincinnati Bell, and I, of course, am trying to seek another provider. I've finished a proposal and all that. It's yet to go through, but we'll see if we switch over. And the reason I'm doing that is because their the product is really, really bad and their support is atrocious, essentially, right? So that is why I am looking to get rid of them from my professional life if I can. Um, so, but to be completely fair to Cincinnati Bell, I could not be more pleased with how this install went here in my residence. Essentially, what happened was, it got scheduled for a Friday. I don't recall the exact date that it happened. And basically, the Monday before they came out, it was a little rough because I get a phone call from somebody who barely speaks English. I suppose they are the people who actually bury the line. They're a contractor, but honestly, they told me they were running the line. And truthfully, when I got home from my work that day, I couldn't even tell they had ran a line. That's how good of a job they did. The yard wasn't really torn up at all, and I could not see any real physical evidence that they had been there. So I have to give them credit where credit is due. It wasn't like laying across the grass or anything. It was actually buried somehow, and they did a really good job at it. So there's that. Also, when the technician came out here, he did an excellent job. Really fantastic. Listened to me about how I'd like the install done. He worked with me on it. Absolutely top-notch service there. Could not be more pleased with how the install went. And really, ever since I've had the service, it has been, my satisfaction with the actual service up to this point is complete. I have no real complaints about the service at all. I honestly only have really one fairly small complaint about the process up to this point with them. And that is the fact that when I was doing research, before I was going to make the change, because once I called Comcast and they basically would not negotiate with me on price, which is, believe me, we're going to get to that. I was doing research before I was ready to pull the trigger with Cincinnati Bell. I had to basically learn all that I could about the process. I basically wanted to make, because I've never had fiber internet in my home before, truthfully, and I was not super knowledgeable about that. I had to do some research. I didn't know if I had to buy because with cable, I'm used to having a cable modem, right? So I thought maybe I needed some sort of a, quote, fiber optic modem. We're going to get to that, what you actually need. So I did a little bit of research into it. I contacted their customer service, sales or whatever, asked them about it. And the person on the phone was, overseas. Of course, they weren't here in the U.S., so they weren't really able to very clearly explain what the requirements were. So I asked, is there a list of equipment? They weren't really able to tell me much of anything, unsurprisingly. So and of course, they wanted to sell me the service while I was on the phone with them. And I said, no, I need to do some research. Well, why do you need to do research? Why can't you just buy today? I said, because I need to do research first. So, basically, I did not let them sell me. I just hung up on them. I did my research, and then I realized, all you need, essentially, is the OTN, and then you can run that directly into your router. And I was like, well, I've already got a router, because I most certainly did not want to pay for any of their equipment. I did not want to buy anything from them, and I sure as hell did not want to rent equipment from them. And that's just a general tip to everyone out there. Don't let your ISP rent you equipment, because what they're going to rent you is probably going to be subpar and overpriced 9 times out of 10. So, and you will save a very significant amount of money if you don't use their equipment, because setting up a router is not very difficult. Or in the case of cable, which we'll get to, setting a cable modem up is not very difficult. So anyway, so that's basically it as far as Cincinnati Bell goes. Right now, I am 100% satisfied. I hope that stays that way. The speed has been really great the whole time. Haven't had any drops. Nothing. No complaints, essentially. So with that out of the way, let's now talk about Comcast and, of course, why I switched. So anyway, I've been going back and forth to Comcast because I knew that the end of my contract was approaching, right? So I actually called them early this year when fiber, because I believe fiber became available here or it was earlier this year, maybe March or April is when it initially was offered here. I'm not sure exactly. So I called I called Comcast, And I said, hey, um, basically this is what's going on. Uh, Fiber's here now. You actually have some competition, but I'm happy to stay with you if you can match the prices and the speed. So I kind of went over the prices and speeds with whatever representative I was talking to, and they said, yeah, we really can't do that right now. We just can't match those. They said, but if you call essentially 60 days before your contract expires, we should be able to really negotiate with you and get you to stay. And I said, fantastic. I said, that's fine. So, because honestly, like I said earlier in the video, the speed I was getting was perfectly adequate and I could wait, until October to kind of negotiate with them, right? I didn't feel that was that big of a deal. So, essentially, October 6th rolls around, which is, the magical 60-day mark from the end of my contract, right? So, of course, I call them up, and they basically tell me, I go over the advertised prices. This is not what I actually ended up paying. I went over the advertised prices with Comcast, and I said, look, your competition has a gigabit available for $70 a month. Are you able to match that? No. Essentially, the best they could do was offer me 500 megs for $140. So essentially, they wanted to give me half the speed at twice the price. Are you stupid? I said, is that the best you can do? They said, yeah. I said, okay, I understand that. The next time I'll be calling you guys will be to cancel my service because this is ridiculous. And then the gentleman, of course, he did his best. He's like, well, maybe you're not getting as good of a quality of a connection with, since, because ours is a business connection and blah, 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 ours is better. What a line of BS, right? Total crap. Basically, as long as you have a good, strong internet connection, and there's no data caps or anything, and there is not with this fiber. It's that's part of the reason I went with Comcast Business, because there's no cap on that. Same thing with this fiber, so that makes no real difference. So I said, okay, whatever, have a nice day, right? And I got off the phone with the guy. So then I was by then I had done I did my research and all that with Cincinnati Bell. I knew exactly how it had to be set up, the whole thing, right? So I went ahead and I pulled the trigger and scheduled the installation date with them. Oh, and while talking to them, what I said, and this is a negotiation tactic I'd recommend for anybody, when I was talking with Cincinnati Bell and actually doing the order, I said, I don't want any of your equipment, and I don't want your TV. Right? I wasn't interested in their TV service or their equipment in any way, shape, or form. Just forget it. I just want the internet. That's it. And essentially they said, well, that's perfectly fine, and we can give you a great price that we don't even advertise. And I said, okay, great. What's the price? And of course, that was when they ended up telling me $50 a month for the gigabit. Yeah, obviously, and that's good for 2 years, right? So basically, in 2 years, I'm gonna have to play the game of, getting back with them and working another deal. And I know they will. They'll at a minimum keep me the same. The price pretty much will stay locked in. So I'm pretty confident on that. So yeah, the guy came out, did a really great job on the installation. He even removed the box on the side of my house, that connected to their copper network. So in my home, oh no, I no longer have access to POTS lines. Whatever will I do without the POTS in the DSL? Perfectly fine. So basically what my plans are now is, of course, I'm going to stick with Cincinnati Bell Fiber for the foreseeable future. I am going to keep my, my Comcast line. Obviously, I'm going to get that cut off on December 6th, which is the end of the contract. No reason to keep it after that. And like I said, the only reason I kept it for so long, after, I allowed the for them to interlink this much is because, like I said, I lack faith in Cincinnati Bell. So I felt having Comcast as a fallback option, at least for a few months, would be a great idea because, truthfully, the internet for me is 1000% critical. It's not just for this silly YouTube stuff that I do, my job, basically, paying bills. Essentially, everything that I do in my modern life is completely reliant upon the internet. It's almost as critical as electricity at this point for me. So going without it would be very difficult, and I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't really have any significant issues with this. So I'm very pleased. Things could not be going better. But yeah, that's it. I hope you guys like this. I hope you learned at least something from this. Maybe you hate Comcast, and it feels good for you to see somebody giving Comcast the good old finger. So anyway, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys like this. As always, live long and prosper. Keep on rocking. And this is pretty good for rural Southeast Indiana. See you guys real soon.